Yeah, totally.
Let's see. All right. So this will take a couple of minutes. I'll turn on the Facebook comments. All right. Let's see. Okay. I'm just gonna tag you. All right. All righty. Okay, they're coming in. It's funny because yeah, I didn't get up till I was gonna have a show at 1, but she wasn't up to it. I was okay to go on, but I was glad she didn't want to go on because it would have been right before yours, like with no time in between, and uh, and then it started raining and getting really cold and like soft,
Mm.
like fits the mood,
Yeah, yeah.
like a decompression of some sort. I've noticed this the past weekend and the weekend before that, really since April 1st, but these past 2 weekends, there's been like incredible Schumann activity and solar flares and conjunctions. And now we're going into this weekend, and we started with a new moon on the 1st, we end with a new moon, and it's a, what do they call it, a dark moon?
And there's a lunar
Eclipse.
eclipse, I
Yeah,
think.
it's
Is
an
it lunar
eclipse.
or so? Yeah.
Uh, I don't
On
know.
the 30th, it's an eclipse.
Uh
I
huh.
think it's a solar eclipse
Yeah,
on the 30th, and then a lunar eclipse
in mid May.
in mid May. So
So,
it's a pokey old time, huh?
that's a pokey old time. I don't
And
know. It's, yeah.
I sent out a newsletter this. We're live now, yeah.
Yeah, we're live. We got 15 people on one of the platforms, so there's probably about 60, 70 people.
Hey, well, thank you for
Mm-hmm.
tuning in, everybody. I sent out a newsletter today because uh, yesterday I was asked. I was sitting indoors in my flat, and I was asked go sit in the garden. So I take my notebook and just wander up to the garden and sit, knowing that when I get an instruction like that, that there's something is going to land. And as soon as I sat down and closed my eyes and I just say an internal, okay, what am I doing here? I was just shown this. I was out in the solar system, taken right out into the solar system, and watched as like a huge piece of muslin was pulled out of the whole solar system. And as I watched this, I like one tiny image holds a huge amount of information. And I understood. And this happened last year. Last year, I was told there were about 3 waves of energy coming from the sun that were raising the game for us last year. And that happened. And then the energy has continued to rise sort of exponentially in a way that maybe none of us have really expected. Um, so what I was seeing yesterday, or what I was shown yesterday, and what I heard as I was watching this, was that we're about to experience 3 unveilings of the sun. Um, Now, for years, I've heard about people talking about a solar flash or a solar event, and I started off being quite skeptical about that. But as I've witnessed the energy of the sun changing quite dramatically over the past couple of years,
Yeah.
noticeably recognizing that the frequencies coming through the sun are amplifying and amplifying all the time. I've started to recognize that we are certainly in a preparation phase. And then I've seen other people talking about the same sort of thing. And this, what I was shown yesterday, was that the first of these, an unveiling, means that a filter that is in filtering the energy of the sun is being removed. And so there's a rapid, very sudden raise in frequency that what I'm being shown is that it's going to sort of knock our socks off, in effect, and move us into. We're already experiencing a lot of shadow rising, and for those that have been doing shadow work for a long time, that's perhaps a bit easier to navigate than those that have never done any. But where these frequencies that we're going to be exposed to starting in mid-May, the first of these is mid-May, is really going to raise the game exponentially. So we'll start to see energy in a way that we haven't before, because a lot of these spectrums of light that have been filtered out of the sun's radiance as it comes to us will be included again. So we'll see much more clearly at that energetic level, but also then it's a much more revelatory process in terms of bringing to the surface the hidden agendas on this planet. So, and what I was shown yesterday, and it's all happened in a flash, is that there'll be another one of these in June, probably, and this is my assumption, probably the solstice, and then another one a few months later. I'm thinking September, but I don't know about that.
Equinox.
So that's my thought, is the equinox, but I haven't, that's my assumption, and I haven't got any clarity on that.
So the first one, maybe
Mid-May.
does it coincide with the eclipse?
It could do, but I think the one in the mid-May is a lunar eclipse, and so I would have thought it would be a solar event.
That's
but
true.
But who
Although
knows?
a lunar eclipse is the sun
Solar
in front
related.
of the sun in front of the moon, right? Yeah, it's the sun
It's
in
the
front of
shadow of the Earth on top of over the moon, isn't it? So the
over the moon.
sun behind the Earth and
I
casting
see.
the
I
shadow of
see.
the Earth onto the
Yeah,
moon
yeah.
is
So
that. But anyway, it's
coming at us from the
mid-May.
backside.
Yeah, and the first one will be
Just
the
not coming
mildest of
face.
these, and then each one of them gets stronger and stronger. And what I was shown is that this is going to create chaos on the planet, some high degree of madness, if you like, as all of this energy pours in staged phases. And it really is a very, very merciful process we've been moved through, because we've been given years to acclimatize and raise our own frequency.
Yeah.
If these frequencies hit all at once, they would fry us completely. So we've had years to prepare, in effect, as a body of humanity.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
But there are still going to be a lot of people in a terrific amount of shock, and
I would imagine. I mean, I wonder in my if like the previous 2 weekends and what this weekend appears to be is like a mini version of what's going to come, because I know these previous 2 weekends, the outcome of them have been just 2 or 3 days of just, I don't know if I'd call it integration so much as like awareness integration. It's just incredible. But like you said earlier about these big waves, is the continuing, shadow coming up.
Yeah.
And how quick and shocking it can be, and I don't want to say incomprehensible, but like, where did that come from, or whatever the case is. So
yeah.
that feels
so I think
right.
we're really in this very narrow corridor now, where everything just moves us, and everybody is just being funneled into this very narrow space. And interestingly enough, then I saw today, and I for years have been told, don't pay attention to what other people are doing, because it makes you second guess the guidance that comes through you. So as a rule, I don't tend to, because it really does put me off the things that I'm experiencing, in a sense. But today I noticed that Amanda Lawrence and what's his name?
Jason Estes.
Jason, they did something together, a Facebook Live or something with Jason's assistant Skylar, I think, and they were talking about we're entering into a time of madness. So I listened to 10 minutes of that, and what they're saying really, really chimed and coincided with what I was shown yesterday. They didn't talk about the sun. Maybe they did. I didn't listen to all of it, but But the bit I was saying was that they are seeing this period of madness that we're just literally entering into as we move into May. So it's always interesting when other people who you sort of respect are coming
Yeah.
up with the same sort of stuff as well.
Well, I have noticed, and I think maybe a lot of people have noticed, certainly this month, as these solar storms and all that stuff have been really ramping up because I believe around the 10th or the 8th, I did a show with Pamela Johnson. I remember on the 30th noticing that somebody put out that there was like 17 in one day. Then she came on, there was like 50 in one day. And so there's been quite a few people that have been saying something very similar. And one of those people is, she goes by Girl in the Universe. I think her name is S.A. Smith. She's going to be on actually next week. But she just put one out today. I made a little meme on it. And she said this was probably, I would say, 7 hours ago, what she's speaking of. 6 CMEs off the sun in the last 24 hours. Solar storms plus the Schumann resonance shows its colors. This seems to be how the last 2 weekends started.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And I think
So,
this again is this preparation. I think as I'm listening to you, I think I have a sense that these solar storms literally burn out of the sun's atmosphere whatever filter has been in place to keep these energies in check, in a
yeah.
sense. And so yeah, I think I think
You
we're
know,
in. I think this is
another
it. We've been waiting for
I
something quite
think that,
major,
you know what,
and I
I'm with
think
you. I was always a bit skeptical of this whole 3 day, 3 days of darkness and the solar flash. And I'm coming around a little bit because the energy's pointing that way. And another example I look at is Judith Kuzel. She was going to come on first of the month, and then she got the call to go out on the land. And just through her pictures and some of her commentary, you can see, I can see that the same energy in her, like this building, like she's doing grid work. You could see through her pictures the ancestors, so many rocks and monoliths that she was
oh, I
taking
saw the
pictures of.
that one of the rocks, the
Yeah,
petroglyphs in the
yeah. So
rock
there was
face.
just, and to me, I don't know because I'm just kind of connected to her, but she was messaging with Morgan a couple of months ago about doing a show, and she told Morgan, you know, May is going to change. Your whole life is going to change. And Morgan knew, she was like, that's not just about me. And it feels that way to me too. It
Yeah,
feels like May is. So when you talk
yeah,
about we'll be able, the um, filters will be burned off and we'll start to see colors or waves or whatever that we're not able to see now, which obviously is going to allow us to understand things and see
yeah.
things in a way that is going to compute and be recovered in us, or however you want to put it, come to the surface, our abilities. But do you see it like that, like literally, like you think we'll actually start to see some things that have been more like flashes in our lives, or some people.
Yeah, because I think the unveiling, what I'm seeing is that the sun is being unveiled, but we're being unveiled at the same time.
Mm,
And those veils that exist within us work to lower our frequency and perform the act of separation. They keep us believing that we are separate individuals,
right.
having separate experiences. And as these veils come out, we recognize more and more fully, and of course, this is happening for more of us all the time, that we are not separate from each other. We're not separate from the
Right.
planet. We're not separate from the plants, the animals, the cosmos. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
And so we get to see those connections, and the fact that, when you see somebody's energy field, you start to recognize that, well, actually, they don't ever end. Their
Right.
energy just goes on and on. And then you recognize, but their energy is obviously penetrating my energy field, and my energy field is. So we're obviously all just in this sea of energy, and that I think becomes
So it's like
more and more apparent.
stubbing your toe cosmically. Like you stub your toe and I see it in you. Like, oh my God, I just affected him. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wonder what because the madness that they spoke of, the chaos. We always know that there's chaos before a new birth. I mean, so we kind of know that's part of the cycle. But I wonder what that madness is that they're referring to. If it's going to be simply people, getting too much light, so to speak, and not having, you know, done the work for whatever reason in their divine purpose and just getting overloaded, or is it going to be more of what doesn't seem to be sticking, like the 1% or whatever, more of that, like you said, coming to the surface because their stuff doesn't seem to be sticking.
no.
Uh, but I wonder if it's going to
People,
be something like that or just people tripping out.
I think it's probably a bit of both, I think. Because I know from my own experiences, time when I've had a big download of energy and it's pushed a lot of my stuff to the surface, I feel for maybe a day or a couple of days that I'm going completely mad, that I
Yeah,
can't hold this. And now that I've had enough experience of that, I know to just let it be
yeah,
and don't engage with it, and it falls apart and it
yeah,
falls away quite quickly and smoothly. Now, this year, I have experienced some depths of my own shadow that took me by surprise. And just in the past couple of weeks, I've had an experience with um, with COVID that was very mild, but I was running a temperature for a couple of days, and that again had another purging, cleansing
yeah,
impact. And I always work with whatever illness, disease process I'm experiencing to bring stuff to the surface. So it always ends up being a powerful time. But I think, I know from just chatting to people, so many people who are really solid, lovely people have done very little in terms of their own shadow work or owning or integrating the
yeah,
shadow. So a lot of stuff just gets projected out. What I'm shown here is that the single most useful thing to do is to be in the heart field,
yeah,
to occupy that space within yourself. And that space for me this year has had huge expansions for everybody. And I've worked with that a lot on the teleconferences I do this. So the heart field, when I was sitting yesterday, listening to or seeing what I was being shown, I became aware that my heart had simply become an enormous toroidal field, and that it's very easy to sit in that field and just rest there. The other
yeah,
really beautiful thing that I've experienced in the past month, I guess, is, and I'm being asked to sit in nature more and more. And I have a nice little garden here, not big, but there are some big trees here. Sit in the garden, and as I sit and connect with the core of the earth, these what I term new earth energies emerge from the core of the earth and rise up almost like a wall out of the earth, and they become a tangible field of energy that immerses me. So I know that the earth is looking for anchoring points, human bodies as anchoring points for these new energies. And I think these energies really uh, help to soften the impact of what is coming, in a sense. So it's the same old story: grounding and open your heart.
yeah.
That's always been, that story has never changed, but now it becomes much more
Yeah, but
important.
the being an anchoring point and going through um, the actual steps and the motions of that, I think is that makes a lot of sense to me. Um, I was just reading. I like Joseph Campbell,
uh the hero's
and
journey. Huh?
I was reading a little piece, an excerpt that he spoke or wrote, and he was talking about ritual, and he was saying, "What do we do in a ritual? Why do we do a ritual?" And he went on to explain that the ritual, and I'm just going to paraphrase it, but like the ritual internalizes that which it's being conducted for.
Mm.
So there is a ritualistic aspect to, because I heard that yesterday, the lady that was on yesterday, she's connected to the Arcturians, and she kept saying, I'm getting a message for you. Put your feet on the ground, put your feet on the ground. And I realized it was for the show, but I was also getting, hey, you need to spend more time out there. And, but yeah, there's something to, the whole word, like so many words, the growing and meaning embodiment, like embodying it through a process like that, or, something that's really been fascinating along the lines of what you're talking about in your groups is we've been doing, Morgan's been facilitating these visits to the new grid. And it started out, me and her were doing it, and then we brought, I think, a third person in and a fourth person, and she started a couple of groups. And it's interesting because all the groups are different, but all of the experiences are kind of intertwining. People seeing the same thing, getting the same messages, having healings, instantaneous healings. I mean, just, so I think there's a lot to be said for these types of things, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm experiencing the energy of the earth in a way that I never have before, that it becomes a tangible force now that just literally rises up and fills the space, and it wants to be interacted with. And I think this energy has to rise out of the earth to, in a sense, to catch these energies coming in from the cosmos. It's and we perform that function too, but the more of us that are interacting with this core, because these are the new earth energies that are emerging from the earth, and they meet the radiant energies coming in from the cosmos, and that is Hyros Gamos at another level. Then it's the merging, the meeting of heaven and earth, and from that meeting there's something new is born, and we are part of that meeting point. We are part of that seeding process. That the body of humanity is important in this. And
That's for sure. And I can't sit here without thinking about, for lack of a better word, because they don't pose any threat to me or us, but the 1%. Like, these energies have to be felt by everyone. I think that's becoming in itself an event because it's becoming something that's become in our conscious awakening is becoming more recognized. You can't, I mean, how many doors are there as we close the doors to, the identities and roles and that? But I mean, this is happening to everybody.
Yeah.
So that's
nobody will escape this. Nothing.
It's like nature. It's like a big storm of nature that you just you just can't do anything. You just have to.
And I think they've been trying their damnedest to fend this off and to close humanity down with all sorts of tricks and ploys, and to literally cast a blanket of fear around the planet as a way of shielding. But that hasn't worked. And now what I was seeing yesterday, and the word that kept coming was awe. And when I thought, well, I know what that word means, but I thought I'm going to look at what that word means. And it means it's a mixture of respect and fear. And what I was aware of is that for some of us, this will be an an experience that leaves us full of awe, and for some, it will just be an awful experience, because it's these energies burn if you're deeply resistant to them. And so as much as this has been a deeply, deeply merciful process, a universally, we have been extended so much grace and mercy and so many opportunities to get on board with this and do the work of preparation. Those that have clung steadfastly to their position, I think are good. I think more people than we realize are primarily heart-centered on the planet, and it
I
doesn't
agree.
matter about knowing about chakras or any
Yeah,
of
I
this.
agree. I agree.
But more
Totally.
people, probably 90% of the planet, are heart-centered and want the best for everybody.
I agree.
But there will be a significant number that I think aren't able to hold these energies, aren't able to move with them, and I think they'll need to leave fairly quickly.
Yeah. I think we've grossly underestimated, or let's just say the conversations tend to be in regard to the 1% rather than the 99%. And if
Yeah,
you just put those two numbers together, that tells you something. But if you think about like what you were saying earlier with the whole truth coming out, so if this 1% theoretically had the esoteric knowledge that's been suppressed amongst the populace, uh, futuristic technology, and so on and so on, etc. And and we're going to see how everything is connected and how everything works. I mean, to me, it's no different than what you were talking about earlier when these energies come in and bring up whatever they bring up physically, mentally, emotionally, and you just know now, we know now to just kind of breathe through it, to be in the heart, and it's a form of surrender and grace. I mean, there's a lot of things, but that's pretty much what I see happening in these waves. It's the same, and that's what I noticed about the previous 2 weekends. Just innately, and I can't be the only one, knowing that the second weekend was going to be like the one before it, and this one's going to be a little bit bigger than the one before it. That's three, and you're talking about three waves. I mean, there's connectivity to everything, and
yeah.
I just feel like that nobody gets out alive. I mean, how can you? I can imagine like they're what, like vampires in some kind of off-planet metal encased coffin, and just like trying not to get the sun's rays or something.
Yeah, nobody's going to get out of this unscathed, and it's I think a very intense stripping down process. That the whole planet is about to undergo, and as we say, this has been going on for years now, slowly building, and we're at that point now that many have spoken of for a long time, and I didn't quite believe there was a point,
Yeah,
but I think we're here.
yeah.
So
Maybe that's May, or it starts like you said with the waves, because a couple of things beyond being more open to, let's say, a traditional wave or what people have talked about an event. One is I'm more open to a scenario where everyone gets affected. I mean, like, there's no question. The whole world like is on the same page, and the individual reactions to that will be what they may. But everyone knows it's on the same page. I can kind of be more open to that now, happening in a short time frame, and then also I can be open to, which I've always believed, and I believe it'll happen. Is like Franco talked about. By the end of by 2023, the world would be led by councils on a more localized basis with a network. That something that quick could happen based on the way the energy's been flowing, even just this month.
yeah, I think we're going to see rapid breakdown of a lot of systems that have been falling apart slowly, and so maybe there will need to be then the rapid coming together of local councils then that take over where a lot of the systems, because I'm looking at our government in this country and it's like, Jesus, the corruption couldn't be any much more evident. It couldn't
Right.
be any
Right.
much more in your face. It's just right out
It's
there.
like
And they're
thrown
not
in your
even
face and they're laughing at
totally,
you.
totally. I mean, totally. It's beyond ridiculous. Something else that has tied in with this, that there have been two experiences, and I'm trying to remember the first one, but the second one was I was meditating, and all of a sudden I felt that I was in the middle of a sandstorm. This was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think. And as I looked at my body in this sandstorm, I realized that I was the body of the Sphinx. And as I was sitting there in that pose of the Sphinx in close to the pyramids in Egypt, I remembered that myth or legend that somewhere underneath the Sphinx is a chamber that holds, the Akashic records, and that there are chambers like that apparently all over the world, and that those chambers, as I was sitting as the Sphinx, I understood that those chambers are about to open. And I think this is another aspect of the revelation.
Is that me or him? Yeah, this all resonates. Let me see who's frozen. Oh, he's frozen. Okay. Hopefully he'll come back in. Yeah, that all resonates. The pyramids, what he's talking about with the Akashic record storage crystals or whatever they are around the world coming out. And I'm like him. I was a bit skeptical always of the event because it was predicted so many times. And I'm not saying it's going to happen now, but I'm certainly more open to it. It feels like, like the potential of a significant change that everybody's aware of. That there's no mainstream media saying something else happened, or everybody's like, okay, we're all on the same page. We saw the beginning of this with Uluru in 2020. Monique Hendry. Let's see. David is frozen. Yes. Nan Hodges. Oh my gosh, I feel a huge party coming on. LOL. So wish I were there to celebrate with you. Oh, she's talking to somebody. Amy Brown. It's my birthday weekend this weekend. Wish you were near to celebrate. Happy birthday, Amy. See if David's coming back. We got a show later on with Donna Owens. That's going to be, what is that? It's going to be in about 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours 20. So, man, I don't even know what to say anymore when I wake up. I always send Morgan a little note, and I think today I put the mind's sharp, but the body's beaten. But it's not like a beaten like you can't function. It's just like I feel like I've just been working out when I'm in dream state. I wonder if other people are feeling that way. Let's see. I'm looking at the comments on the Facebook page. Well, maybe his internet went out. He had some good information there for those of you who are just coming in. David's pretty connected, as we all know, but he got called out to meditation in the garden a few days ago, and he was talking about how he was shown 3 waves, one mid-May, one, I believe he said June. He was thinking it would be the solstice, and then one in September that would really open things up. And he was also talking about how some other people have been kind of converging in what they're forecasting or what they're feeling or what they're receiving. And then he was talking about I forgot because I laughed at this. Thea Magdalena half the time not even in the body, dear Todd, excruciating. Yeah, and I think that's another thing David was talking about is, uh, you know, I'll just use my own word, but the almost shocking effect of the amount of energy being presented or coming to us or through us or whatever. You know, of course, the cycle of the shadow coming up, the expansion, integration, all that stuff, but almost that it's just, shocking. Because, like he said, because we know he's connected, how he was talking about this year alone, how much stuff has come up that's really surprised him. So, let's see. Are we going to the New Earth grid to celebrate the ritual birth during this time? I don't know, but I'm really impressed with these trips to the New Earth grid and what they're producing for people, for the group, what it's bringing forth that's probably happening collectively, I would imagine. Um, so I'm not sure what happened to David. Let me check the messenger, see what's going on. Okay, we can reschedule. It's oh wait a minute. It's okay if we need to reschedule. All right. Go back here. Okay, he's still out. Well, we got about 140 people in the house, and we'll give it about another 2 minutes. Delia says body shifts and changes, shedding, itching, DNA, crystalline activations. Yeah, to all that. Anything else? Gail Kaufman, her mom just celebrated her 93rd birthday. I keep wondering how is this affecting her. Yeah, it's interesting to consider how is this affecting people that aren't in these types of communities. But I think it's like David said, 90% plus of the people in the world live in the heart. No matter what they're going through, they don't lose touch with it. Denise Chadwick has an itchy belly inside, under the skin. It must be the baby kicking. Happy birthday, Donna Carol, tomorrow. She's 44. Well, his internet, excuse me. Eve Altar says that her mom is waking up at 84 years old. All right. Well, I guess we'll sign off. And Denise Chadwick, I saw the baby in a vision. So, yeah, maybe we'll come back on here in a minute and do something. Let me just take a few breaths and tap in, and maybe we'll just come back on here in a bit, because we don't have another show for 3 hours and 15 minutes yet. So, yeah, you know what? We'll reach out to David and see if we can get him back on in the next few days and talk more about what he had to talk about. And if you just came in, you might want to listen to that first 30 minutes, especially the first 15 or 20 minutes. He's talking about what he's received just very recently and how that looks for all of us. And it was a pretty good description. So thank you, everybody, for your continued love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing this every day. It's an honor to be here. For Morgan and I, it's an honor to be a part of this and do our best with it every day. And we can only do it with, the the community that we have, because we're all equals. We're all the round table of spirituality, or Soulogy. All right. Probably see you shortly. Okay. Bye-bye.